Welcome to Verify in Field, the Millwork podcast. Your host, Jacob Edmond, CEO of Ductworks, will be interviewing experts in the industry to bring you insights and knowledge about the latest trends, techniques, and challenges in millwork. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the world of millwork. Here's Jacob.
Hey, Khalil.
What's up, man? How are you?
How you doing? I appreciate you making time to join us here on Verify in Field.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate that you did the little recording on link for your last name, and that was really helpful. So let's see if it worked, if I got it right. Khalil Benalioulhaj.
You got it, man.
Close?
No, more than close.
Okay.
You got it. You nailed it.
All right.
You nailed it. Yeah, it's not an easy one.
Yeah. And you have a company, I assume it has to be a play on your name, Benali, right?
It does, man. So my last name is Benaliulhaj, and in Arabic, that means son of Ali, the one who made the pilgrimage. Okay. And so I started Benali with the internal mindset, at least, that, my great-grandfather, Ali, made the pilgrimage from Morocco on the northwest coast of Africa all the way to Mecca in the early 1900s by caravan. So just across the Sahara Desert. And it took a leap of faith. He actually passed away on that journey. And hopefully that's not the case for my metaphor here. But the metaphor is that in business, you have this leap of faith moment where you decide to go out on your own and you decide to run your own company. And it's a burden, but it's also a joy. And there's so many things that happen along the way. And really, Benali wants to come alongside and be at least partly a guide that's in the caravan of a business owner that helps them get to their light at the end of the tunnel, get to the destination that they can envision, but isn't there yet. And that's how I started Benali, and kind of the reasoning behind the name there. More of an internal thing than external, not something I share all the time.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. So Benali is actually son of Ali, and my name, Edmund, actually is, I believe, son of Ed.
Oh, okay. Nice. We're both sons.
So I think that is a pretty common, You explained a little bit about Benali, how it got started, and really what service you guys aim to provide. But can you tell us a little bit more just about your background and how you came to, being where you're at with Benali and working with contractors?
Yeah, absolutely. Roundabout way. Right out of college, graduated with a degree in international business and entrepreneurship, and started a business that tried to accomplish both of those things. It was a company called MBA Centers International. It was a startup, basically where we would go overseas and set up these MBA centers, where we would recruit foreign business professionals to get their MBA through an American university. And we would work with an American university to promote their online program overseas. Then the things that you can't do well in online education, like discussions, projects, presentations, would all happen at the MBA Center in person, but then the coursework would happen online through the American university. Foreign national could receive an American degree with the fraction of the cost without having to travel to the US and live in the US, but stay home, keep their job, stay with their family, and still get that degree. And it's super valuable. So that was the startup that I, with a co-founder. We did that for about 18 months and we failed. We just ran into a lot of red tape with universities. They wanted a little bit more control of who we partnered with overseas to run the MBA centers, and it just wasn't working out. So we folded. Through that experience, though, I learned so much about operating a business, specifically on the marketing and sales side. Mm-hmm. Having to build a website from scratch, having to learn how to do messaging to reach people in other countries, learning how to set up funnels so that you could generate leads. Just so much happened in that short time frame, and all while traveling around the world and meeting different people and having to keep stuff organized. It was definitely a challenge, and I just learned so much through that experience. I went to go work at another startup called BuildZoom, based out of San Francisco, and maybe some listeners have heard of that if they're in the construction space, maybe not, but basically it's like Uber for contractors, where okay. I'm a homeowner, I can put in my budget and I want my kitchen remodeled, and here's something I'm looking to for inspiration. And then BuildZoom will send you 3 contractors that are licensed and insured and have permits that actually fit the job description. And that's really what BuildZoom is. They're a data company. They have every single permit and that's ever been pulled in the US and Canada, and all the license information and insurance information for every single contractor in the US, which is pretty remarkable. But long story short, I was there for about 6 months, and my job was to really get in touch with contractors that were on the platform. And I learned so much doing that about the space, about the needs of construction owners, about the challenges they face on their sales and marketing side and on the technology side of just not being organized, just relying on their brain and their phone and their ability to answer it. I can't tell you how many conversations I had with the contractor on a ladder about setting up a sales appointment. And so through that experience, realized that I could use some of my background with my first business and doing the sales, the marketing, and the technology side of it and apply that to the construction space. I ended up leaving that job at BuildZoom and starting my own thing. And that's how I started my journey as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, as a guide, as an agency owner. And it's been a lot of fun. Been doing it for about 7 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I failed to mention this in your intro. Fast forwarding to now, you are also a co-host of a podcast called The Cashflow Contractor, Martin, right?
Yeah.
And so now I assume paired with, or maybe that's been an evolution out of your journey with Benali, right? Is you also have this podcast, and really a lot of what you're doing between Benali and The Cashflow Contractor is really educating and working with and coming alongside contractors and, running their business, lead generation. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. Martin Holland is a wonderful gentleman that I actually went to school with his daughter, and he's twice my age, my senior, and a fantastic guy that we would have so many conversations and so many clients that were actually similar. He's a business coach. I work more and specifically on the sales, marketing, and technology side. And just through getting to have these conversations, like, man, we need to record this. It's been a really fun journey. We've been doing it for about 3 years. We're approaching 200 episodes. You were recently on as a guest, if anyone wants to check that out. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it has helped us with lead generation for our business to find contractors that want to utilize our services. And I love doing podcasts. That's why I'm on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah. And that's how we got connected. I actually I think initially I came across one of you guys' episodes about cash flow and business accounting and stuff. And me as an early entrepreneur starting a business as well, I just found value myself in that.
Yeah.
And then obviously got turned on to it, connected with Martin and you. Now you have Benali, you say you've been running it for about 7 years, and your mission in assisting contractors. Can you explain a little bit about the services that you offer today, and how you come alongside contractors to grow their business? What does it look like as one of your customers maybe onboards, and what do they come to you looking for? And then what do you end up helping them with?
Yeah, great question. So it's always can be a little bit complicated sometimes to explain what we do, but when you get down to the nuts and bolts is we really help contractors find qualified customers and then have great relationships with those qualified customers. So there's a lot of different services that we offer. I think probably the biggest one that has the most benefit for contractors, that's really a one-time thing for them, is what we call a growth foundation. And it's made up of several different parts. And so whenever we meet with a contractor, we first want to understand their marketing holistically. When we have that first conversation, what we typically see is that they're not very organized in their marketing. They maybe have tried a Facebook ad once, or they've set up some Google ads. Maybe they've got some magazine ads going out, but there's not really any central message, central channel that they're really focused on and that they have a really good plan in place for. So what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll say, okay, let's really understand your brand. Who are your customers and how do you want to reach them? How can you speak to them in the way that they want to be spoken to? And so that's where we set up their messaging for their brand using something called a Storybrand Brandscript and a few other tools as well. And then we also set up their design to make sure that everything is consistent across the board when it comes to their brand. Whenever a customer sees them, they look good. They look consistent from channel to channel. When I look at their website, their Facebook matches it. Everything looks really clean. And then also the way they speak is the way I want to be spoken to as a customer. And then it's consistent across the board. I'm not going to get varying messages that are unclear and aren't to the point and don't give me a call to action. So that's one of the first things that we set up when we're working with them. The next thing that we look at is their website. That's a huge point of a source of leads for a contractor and for their customers to look at them is their website. And so we look at that and we say, hey, do we have an optimized website? Is this something that is going to nurture someone who comes to the website, give them confidence in buying from you, and give them a place to take action and actually reach out? So we go through all those steps to look at the website. If it's a good website and just needs some tweaking, we'll do that, or we'll build a new website from scratch for them. And then we look at, okay, how are these customers actually moving into the business? And that's where we set up a CRM. We'll make sure that anyone that calls, anyone that fills out a form from the website, they automatically go into the CRM. And then we set it up to where the sales team that is inside the CRM can easily navigate, easily communicate with customers and move them through the sales process. A lot of times we'll also set up a project management system for a contractor so that whenever they have sold the job, they can actually then move into production of the job and they can keep track of those things. A lot of times some contractors will have something set up there, but it's not just great. I can't tell you how many times I've seen, Builder Trend, for example, for a contractor set up, but it really half-assed. They don't really use it to its full potential, and it's really unclear, and the data's all over the place, and it's just a mess. And so we'll go in and we'll actually clean that Builder Trend up, or maybe Builder Trend's just too complicated for them. We'll actually move them to a project management system that fits their needs, but doesn't give them too much bloat and just allows them to stay organized in a really clean way. So several different options there, but that's really the nuts and bolts of getting their growth foundation set up. From there are several different things that we can do for them, everything from creating content so that they can now promote themselves to customers and educate their customers throughout their life cycle. We'll even do things like case studies or ultimate buyer's guides, lots of different areas of marketing that we can touch on to help contractors. So yeah.
Awesome. If you don't mind, I want to drill in and unpack a little bit of what you shared a lot.
Let's do it.
I know there's a lot more in that content wise, but it's a good overview. So one, you mentioned Storybrand Brandscript, Donald Miller, correct?
Yeah, great.
Did I get that name right? Okay.
Great book.
Yep. So for anybody who may not be familiar with him, he is a guy who's created a Brandscript is his creation. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. He's actually got quite a bit out there for anyone that doesn't understand marketing that well and just wants something really easy to understand and to follow. He has the Storybrand is a great book that it helps you understand how to talk to customers. And so many times whenever I work with a contractor, you look on their website and it's in business since 1980, or we have the best team on there. It's very vague in what they do, and it's always talking about them. And with the Storybrand Brandscript, what that's doing is you're going to start talking to your customers as if they are the hero and you're the guide. So rather than you being Luke Skywalker, your customer is Luke Skywalker and you're Yoda. And so you're talking about Luke Skywalker's goals and opportunities and obstacles and challenges and mistakes. But Yoda has answers for all those things. And so rather than you trying to be the hero that saves the day, let your customer join their story and their conversation and let them be the hero, and you're just the one that's helping them along the way to achieve their goals. If you're building a new kitchen for them, it's so that they can host family and they can have memorable experiences every morning with their little ones, so they can cook the Thanksgiving meal with the space they want to be in. Those are the things that the homeowner is really thinking about, not, we build it faster than anybody else, or we use the best materials, or and those things matter, but that's not at the core of what the customer wants. That's the Storybrand. I'll go through the 7 steps really fast. So there's a character who is your customer and they have a problem, and then they meet a guide, which is you, and the guide gives them a plan, a 3-step or 4-step process of how we're going to overcome this problem, and then calls them to action so that they can avoid failure and achieve success and then be transformed through that process, from a homeowner who hates their kitchen and never wants to cook and is always going out and is afraid to host people, to someone who is the life of the party and has the best parties at their house and loves to cook and enjoys it, all that kind of stuff. That's the Storybrand. It's just a really easy audiobook, especially I know a lot of contractors listen to audiobooks while they're driving or on a job. Great one to listen to, really easy read. But he has a lot of other really great resources. I think the next one that I would recommend is Marketing Made Simple, which will just give you a really easy understanding of how to do marketing, at least much better than you probably already are.
Awesome. And something else I want to touch on real quick. Would you say most of the contractors you work with are business to consumer versus business to business contractors?
Yes, we work with both. We'll do B2B and B2C. And even on the manufacturing side, I can give another example of how we have done this exact thing. Do you know Jeff Finney? Yeah.
Yes.
So Jeff Finney at Ultimate Cabinets, we worked with him, in 2017, I want to say, for a couple of years. Really fantastic guy and has built some incredible businesses. He was really trying to grow inside of the cabinet component space of trying to build flat pack components to send to cabinet shops so that they could increase their capacity. If they didn't have a CNC machine or their CNC machine was just at its limit, they could just order directly through the Ultimate Cabinets website, and then it would be shipped to their job site. They wouldn't even have to ship it to the shop and then assemble it. They could assemble it on site and install right there. So anyways, we helped him create a lot of content that was really being that guide rather than the hero. He wouldn't talk about, very seldomly would he talk about himself being the best cabinet component manufacturer out there and their components were different than everybody else's. Really, he just sought to be the guide for that cabinet shop that was trying to grow, trying to overcome capacity issues, trying to overcome people issues, trying to scale their shop from $500,000 a year to $1 million a year, from $1 million a year to $2 million a year, from $2 million to $5 million a year. And so we helped Jeff take the knowledge and the experience that he had and put it to paper or to the internet so that he could then be that guide and he could showcase, for his characters that have a problem who need a guide. He gave them a plan. He gave them education that they could use and then actually take action on and be transformed by it. So we went through that process of going through the Storybrand Brandscript and then creating a bunch of different articles and videos. And we even had a podcast for a little while called the Push Through Podcast. And we did that to then generate leads for his business. And I can't tell you, hundreds and hundreds of cabinet shops really around the world, but especially in the US and Canada, would read his articles, would send him emails, would listen to the podcast, would give him calls, would fill out forms to learn more about Ultimate Cabinets so that they could, maybe use his resources to then, or his business to then grow their shop. And even a lot of it wasn't even about his shop, and he created some wonderful connections through the industry through that way, and became the IWF 40 under 40 and so many different things just because of the knowledge that he had and how he shared it. So that's an example of the B2B side.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to call that out because I know a lot of our audience is in B2B side of millwork, and I don't want them to tune out because everything you're sharing and this type of stuff applies to both and is applicable and usable for both. And so I think that's where there is a whole side of the millwork industry that, I'm talking to the millwork guys, obviously that are subcontractors, just like the clients you work with, like Jeff Finney, but there is a side that works directly with customers, does kitchens for homeowners. But there's also a huge side that works for GCs. And I think that side struggles, and you described some of it, like a lot of them have the generic website that's, hey, we have the best team and the most experience and, the highest quality, yada, yada, right?
Yeah.
But none of it speaks to their customer. And I think also millworkers struggle to understand who their customer is because they're still thinking of the end user or the architect or tenant of the building they're putting this product in. That's not who's buying the product from those B2B millworkers. Is generally it's the GC, and within the GC, it's the project executive or the project manager or that is having to go get bids from the trades and decide who to work with. And so thinking about that, the same type of thing applies in one, understanding who is your customer and how do you speak to their need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, is there a different path you take, or do you find that those type of customers that you work with think about things differently? You have to bring them to this strategy differently?
Yeah, you do have to approach it a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, the core principles are very much the same. When you're working with a GC and you're thinking of, man, are they just taking the low bid? Sure, that's going to happen a lot of times that they are taking the low bid, but that's not every GC and that's not every single project. A lot of times they're going to choose whoever's the easiest to work with and whoever makes them look good. And the price does matter at the end of the day, but there's so many other factors that matter, and you've got to figure out what those are. From the Storybrand Brandscript perspective, if you're just thinking about the messaging, you can think of it for each individual role that you may touch as that subcontractor. So if it's the estimator, if it's the project manager, or whoever's inside the company, you can write a brand script where they're the character, they have a problem, and then they meet you, and you come in with this differentiation and say, hey, let's try this, and then go through the rest of the Brandscript together. But then you can also take it to the company level, and you can do one for the company, not just for an individual inside the company. You can think about how the company sees their subcontractors and what they expect out of subcontractors and how you can differentiate yourself as a subcontractor. Another good practice that Donald Miller has is a one-liner. And it always starts with most, and then whatever you are. Most subcontractors only care about this, or only think about this, or only worry about this. But we do XYZ to deliver the best experience for GCs. If you can just fill in the blanks in that statement, it really brings a lot of clarity as to how you can stand out and how you can be different for contractors out there and really approach them in a way that's going to help their projects go smoother, their customers be happier. And so it's just thinking about those things a little bit differently.
Yeah. So say you get through the Brandscript, you establish, okay, here's the journey that we're going to speak to bring our client on, that we're going to join them on. And then you also mentioned that you help implement CRM and maybe project management software. So we talk a little bit more about unpacking that for maybe those who aren't familiar or they've heard that, the buzzwords, but what is a CRM and why is that important as a next step in lead generation and just organization as a business owner?
Yeah, for sure. For most of the listeners out there, whenever they are going to make a phone call, they're really probably not typing in the phone number from the keypad. They're going into their iPhone or Android and they're going to the contacts and either searching or scrolling down to the name, clicking on it, and then clicking their phone number to call. And that ease of use, the same way that you're not just keeping every single person's phone number in your head, none of your customer information should just be in your head or should be in some random email that you've got to search and you don't even remember the name of the person to find their phone number or to find their email to be able to respond to them. The CRM is a customer or contact relationship manager. That's what it stands for. And it's just a glorified phone book like you use in your phone. It's going to keep all of your customer information and about all the information that's about your customer inside there. It's going to keep all of their activity organized, emails, form submissions, meetings, anything like that. And then it's going to also associate that contact with other things inside your company. So we have a job for this contact. So it's going to associate the contact with the job. This contact works at this company. It's going to associate that contact with that company. We have a bid out to that contact. It's going to associate the bid with the contact. So it just keeps everything really organized for your company. And when you are organized, when you have data that is very clear, you can use that data to make decisions. On our podcast, The Cashflow Contractor, we talk all the time about the importance of books. If you have really good books in your business, you can make wonderful financial decisions, and not just about how much we should spend or how much we should be making, but things like, man, what process is taking up so much time in our business? Why is our account receivable so high? If we could just get that account receivable 5 days sooner, every month we'd have so much more profit because of overhead turnover. There's so many different decisions like that that'll help you improve your business because of the historical information inside your company. For a CRM, it's no different. When you have that data, you're able to make way better decisions around what ad campaign you should be running and which one you should shut down, around how long it's taking people to sign deals and how we can improve our sales process. How long is it taking us to follow up with a customer after they've filled out a form on our website? You can even have all of your inbound phone calls. This is an example for a company that we work with. This is a couple years ago. We started realizing that, we record all of their inbound phone calls. So someone calls their, Google My Business, they click on Google My Business and call their phone number to reach the office. They're sitting on hold for 30 seconds, just going through that auto message at the beginning. It says, press 1 for this and 2 for that. And so we shortened that down to 10 seconds where it just gets right into it. And we saw an increase in requested quotes, like 33%, like a third. Just by that small thing. And we would have no idea what was going on there without looking at our CRM and realizing, wow, majority of our phone calls are less than 30 seconds. And that's because people are hearing that automation and they don't want it. They want to talk to a person as quickly as possible. So those are some small things that you can think about there, but That's what a CRM is. It's very valuable. At the end of the day, though, it is a tool. And just like with any tool, it's not really how good the tool is at the end of the day. It's how good is the person using the tool and how good are the behaviors that they have with using it. And that's the big problem that we see. A lot of contractors, manufacturers, businesses in general have software that they don't use well. They don't have good behaviors around it. They aren't diligent about making sure it's organized. They don't have it implemented into their routine of, oh, I had this phone call, I should log that. Or I have this meeting, I should be taking notes. Or I just got off this call, I should put the customer in the CRM. And when you don't have that behavior, you're never going to get the most out of the tool. There's so many people out there with a QuickBooks subscription that have no idea what their balance sheet looks like, have no idea what their profit and loss statement looks like. Same way, there's so many people out there that do have a project management system are like, I don't need another software. It doesn't work. It's just a waste of money. I'm spending $800 a month on this. But at the end of the day, it's not the software that's the problem. It's that we didn't implement systems and behaviors to be able to use that stuff well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good overview. And I think it's a really good explanation. I have a CRM. That was one of the first things that I implemented early on when I was just getting started in tracking leads, tracking content. And I think another thing that it helps, like one, you mentioned the behaviors. It gives you the vehicle to develop those behaviors and to remove the resistance for both your customer and you. Because a lot of times you might be the hurdle to you growing your business and maybe landing more deals could just be your own disorganization. I have to follow up on that email or I have to follow up on this. And because you don't have systems in place, it creates resistance or mud that you have to wade through to do the things you need to do. But also sometimes it makes it impossible for you to bring people on to your team to help you with those things. Because if you bring somebody in and say, hey, they're going to help me with lead generation, they're going to help me with communication, but it's all in your head or it's all in your legal pad, there's not much they can help you with. And so that was a big thing for me in being able to bring somebody on board and say, hey, okay, now they're going to be helping me with estimates and getting quotes out to clients and stuff. And because I have a system in place and I have all the information, if I talk to a client without them or they talk to a client, it's all in one place. And it forces you do have to be disciplined to do it. Make sure that, hey, at the end of a client call, okay, let me go put those notes in there or let me send the email through there, put the information in there. But it gives you the place to do those things. And it is incredibly invaluable for when those things pop up and a client calls me unexpectedly, I can pull it up and see, oh yeah, we do have an open bid for them, or we've done 5 jobs with this client, or all that information is in one place. Or maybe I don't remember this person's name, but now I can see, oh, they're with this client and I can see who they are, all their information and take notes. It makes it, and that is where I see a lot of contractors struggle, is the getting past where they are the salesman, the project manager, the estimator, everything for the business. Being able to scale means bringing on a team of people to help you, and having those tools makes it possible to do that. Do you see that a lot with your client growth and them being the limitation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some people are growing for the wrong reasons. I think as a contractor, you need to be really clear about who you're trying to be, because you mentioned starting out with that CRM, and that's fantastic. For a lot of contractors, I may not even recommend, if you were working somewhere and you're just starting out on your own, unless you're bidding huge projects with huge values and profit margins, I don't recommend that you get any software to get started. Maybe QuickBooks, just so you can invoice and keep track of your finances a little bit, but just go win some work and do a really good job on it. Start there. But for a lot of contractors, they may think about, oh yeah, we're going to grow, we're going to start to hire people, all this stuff, but they never really get into that mode of a business owner who builds systems and delegates properly and makes sure that their team is set up and taken care of and focused and goal-oriented and driven by a mission and a clear vision. That's not really what they're focused on. And so what ends up happening is they're growing, they get to maybe 500,000 in sales, and they start to really, hire a couple of employees, but they don't have those systems in place. They don't have a vision for the company's growth. They don't have a mission that they're working on every single day. And so they get stuck in that 500 to 700,000 realm, and they've got all this software as overhead, these 2 new employees as overhead. They're not making any profit margin, and they're stuck, and they don't have a way forward. And the reality is, if they would have just sat at that 400 to 500,000, not taken on as much software, maybe some really rudimentary tools, not taken on those employees, just had a couple of contractors that do installing, they could be making a really good living. And they're just, they have a lot of risk because there's no telling if the business is going to keep coming in, but they've got their own business that they're running. They get to take home, a majority of the profit. They don't have that high of overhead. It's all them. And that's great. That can be a good business model for some people if that's what their goal is and if they're very clear about that. But if you're going to really grow your business, if that's your vision and you've really outlined where you want to go and how you're going to get there, then your job as the business owner is not to be in the business. Yes, if you enjoy doing something, if you enjoy going and meeting with customers, still go and do some of that. If you enjoy, getting your hands dirty every once in a while, or you enjoy going by the job sites regularly, that's okay. But your primary obligation as that business owner is to be focused on building systems that your team can then be trained on and can execute regularly, and then hiring great people to fill those roles and to do an excellent job at running those systems. In a nutshell, there's more to it than that, but that's really what you should be focused on. And that's where I see a lot of problems with contractors. They're stressed about finances because they're in over their head. They don't have a clear vision for growth, and they're still in the company themselves. And that's when they start to think, man, I hired this person, but he's not doing anything. Well, no wonder he's not doing anything because everything's in your head. You're the bottleneck. He's waiting on you all the time, right? And they're frustrated they can't find good people, and things are always going wrong on jobs, and they're stressed out. It's too much. That's really the heart of why we started the Cashflow Contractor is less stress, more time, more money. Either way is totally fine. You can be the $400,000 to $500,000 contractor that only has subs underneath him to do install work, or even a commissions only salesperson, and you just run your small business. That's totally fine. And the direction of growing to a $10 million, $100 million company is also great. But you just need to understand which game you're playing and then know how to play it well.
Right. Awesome. No, I think that's a ton of really great advice. And so now, you come alongside, you help them understand, hey, write a brand script. What software or systems do we need to implement, fit the game you're trying to play, as you mentioned? And what usually then is the most common low-hanging fruit that you find, or once you get past those two steps? Like, what is that? What is the original low-hanging fruit? What are the things that are most common? And what is also the time frame of this portion of the journey usually look like?
Yeah. So once you have all those things in place, there's a lot of different directions you can go. You've got really good branding. You've got really good channels that you've set up to spread your message to the world and to reach your ideal customers. And then whenever you do reach those customers, you have a system through which they can be in intake. There's an intake process, then onboarding process, a quoting process, follow-up process, all those things. The low-hanging fruit that I honestly really see most businesses are built on this is word of mouth. And it's really doubling down on that word of mouth typically. And so that's really going and finding the best customers you have, getting testimonials from them, maybe doing case studies on them, making sure that they're leaving you a review, and then asking them for referrals, asking them even for more work. If they're your best GC, that's going to be a great source for you. So let's keep getting jobs from them. Hey, what jobs do you have coming up? How can I help you? What are the things that you're seeing come down the pipeline? And continue to ask for work from them. Can I bid this? Can I bid this? Then as you go into asking for other GCs as referrals, that's another great thing. But really, especially if you're on the B2B side as a subcontractor, if you can get in front of more GCs face to face, you will be more successful. And so that's joining associations, that's going to networking events, that's going to the luncheons, it's stopping by job sites every once in a while. It's just maintaining those relationships and asking to get on the bid list, and using all the softwares that are out there to be a part of bid lists and submit your bids regularly. But having that relationship does matter. On the B2C side, it's making sure that when people find you online, that they're blown away by your presence. They feel like they can trust you and they're confident that you can be the one that will do a good job for them. And so that's why you get all these reviews. That's why you have great case studies on your website with photos of before and after. All those things are really the lowest hanging fruit, because now, as someone who is even just referred by you from a friend, I feel confident in the referral even more so because I'm using other people's word of mouth. The reviews of other people are also helping me feel confident in you. the case study that shows the process they went through, that shows the photos of the kitchen that I want just like that, that's what's going to give confidence. So doubling down on that word of mouth. If you don't have a referral program on the B2C side, especially implementing a referral program with gift cards and little add-ons to your project if you refer someone that buys, things like that are really great. Then from there, I think the next lowest hanging fruit is really using that CRM on the sales side, because there's so many jobs that need to be followed up on, that need to be just executed better in terms of the customer experience. We were just working with someone the other day that is really having a hard time. They get a lot of leads. Lead generation's not a problem, but they're having a hard time converting those leads into closed jobs. And just looking at their sales process, it's really evident why. They show up to a sales call, then they go back for a couple of days and do some drawings and some estimating, and then send the quote. And by that time, the customer's in a different frame of mind. Even just a couple of days later, they're not in the same place as when you were inside their house, talking to them face to face, getting measurements. That's when you need to be closing the deal. And so maybe you're not going to be able to give them 100% accurate pricing at that time and give them an estimate. You can probably give them a quote, but even if you can't give them a quote, it's going in and saying, hey, this looks like a perfect job for us. We're really excited about this, and we know that we're going to be able to get you in between this range. What we'll do now is after I take these measurements, we'll go into our design process. And that's going to give you such a clear view of what your kitchen or whatever looks like. To start a design process, it's a $500 deposit. That $500 is directly applied to your job. But if you do not end up working with us, you will walk away with a very clear design and drawings that you can take to any contractor to execute and skip that phase of the process. But let's get that deposit down today so that we can move forward. And just doing that right there will help increase your conversion rate as a contractor. So lots of low-hanging fruit, but it typically revolves around doubling down on what you're already doing, not necessarily starting something new. How can we improve what we're already good at or what we've already implemented inside of our company before going and starting some new thing like Facebook ads or something on Instagram or whatever it is? Then once you've really maxed out where you're currently at, then you can start to do some new things. But make sure that you're really maximizing where you currently are before jumping into something that you don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, no, that's all really great advice. I think a lot of that makes sense because I see a lot of, especially B2C contractors, but even B2B, they struggle with the idea because in millwork, in construction, we're a very craft driven business. A lot of our business owners are craftspeople for their trade. They're skilled in what they do, and they've built a business around their craft. But with that comes a little bit of a pride and, hey, my work speaks for itself, and I've been successful all this time based on word of mouth. And while that's very true, the problem is that when you depend entirely on word of mouth and referrals that you're not nurturing, that is, hey, people refer and it's been enough business to date. You have no control over the growth of your business. You have no control over, hey, when you have a low spot, how do I go get more work? And so there's no way for you to directly improve your conversion rate or improve your lead generation or just have any control over your business when your sales and lead generation is entirely, well, people that I've worked with in the past will tell people and then they'll come ask me, right? And so I think people struggle with that mentality of, oh, I'm not a good salesman. I'm not good at talking about myself. I don't want to go out there and boast. But then even if I do, what is the strategy? What am I doing? Okay, go Facebook ads or whatever it is. Then that's a huge leap from, hey, I'm going from word of mouth, like, oh, I'm just going to blast Facebook ad. Who is it at? And what are they going to do if they what is the goal of that? And who is your customer? And what are you going to do once those leads come in? And so I think that a lot of times making that jump from, hey, I'm just word of mouth to like, how can I nurture? And it, like you said, it is just getting in front of people, getting in front of the people in your industry and nurturing those relationships. And I find that the next hurdle people have is, how do I find time to do those things? And everything you're talking about, from the CRMs to just basic systems for what is your onboarding process, your intake, frees up that space. It starts to snowball. Okay, now I have a process. Now I have a team, or I have a way to manage this that frees up time for me to go invest in the new opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I think something that's really helpful for contractors to understand in terms of, where to spend their time marketing. Just think about it, and we call it a channel strategy, but just think about channels, right? Each different marketing thing that you do is going to be on a different channel. So you may have your website as a channel. You may have Google and search as a channel. You may have each individual social media platform as a channel. So Facebook is a channel, Instagram is a channel, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever. And then you've also got your email newsletter as a channel. You've got networking as a channel. There's all these different channels out there, and you shouldn't be approaching every single channel with the exact same tactics and the exact same strategy. Each channel deserves its own strategy. And let's think about the channels that you're already on and how to optimize those channels, how to create a strategy for them that we can can repeat over and over. And so word of mouth is one of those channels. It's been successful for us. It's the bread and butter of our business to this point. Let's really do a good job at that and make sure that we've squeezed every last drop out of it before moving on to the next channel. And then we're already going to networking events, or we're doing these trade shows or these home and garden shows or whatever it is. Let's make sure we're getting the most out of that and doing a really good job. And even evaluate it. Sometimes those trade shows, maybe they're not bringing anything in. Let's evaluate that channel by itself. And that's where a CRM can really help you, is it'll give you data on each of those channels, how they're performing, what's working, what's not, how much business they drove. And when you use that CRM in tandem with your marketing, with your sales, you're going to be able to see how each channel works from start to finish. From we started working on that channel in marketing, and then it brought over this lead that we quoted this job, and they gave us this much money for doing the job, but they also referred this person. So now we can retribute those two people to this channel on this marketing spend on this channel. And so it just gives you clarity of what's working, what's not, how it's working, and how we can improve. That's the value in a CRM, and that's the value in approaching marketing in a channel strategy.
Awesome. I think that's a really good way to break it down for people, and breaking. And also, you mentioned a lot of channels. I think within that is obviously choosing which ones you start and focus on. You don't have to spray and pray all those channels,
exactly,
depending on your strategy. So there's two questions I really like to ask every guest that I have. Okay. And I'm interested, I'm going to modify them a little bit for you, but I'd really like to get your thought. And the first is, over the next 5 to 10 years, what do you see changing in the construction industry?
I think in terms of the work that I do, the construction industry is typically 5 to 10 years behind, always playing catch up in terms of technology, in terms of just what's available out in the world. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I think you're seeing already a lot of PE and private equity investment into the construction space, and that's growing. The consolidation of companies. I think also with the current interest rates, no one really knows exactly where that's going to end up, but it is having an impact, especially on the residential market. I think the return to work or to the office for a lot of people is also having an impact on the commercial side of things. I don't know if we'll be back to where it was before and what the value of the commercial real estate market is going to look like. But with all those things being said, I think there's always going to be a consistent across the board inside the construction space. And the fly-by-night guys are going to struggle. The people that are organized, that are consistent in their work, that know their margins and stick to them, will be the most successful contractors out there. But the ones that are just hoping and praying that the work will keep coming, and we had this boom inside of COVID and it's going to continue to just compound, and they're relying on that boom to really carry their business. They're focused on their top line sales, not necessarily their profit. And they hope that top line sales can continue to grow so that any problems they have underneath that are just washed away because we have so much money coming in. I think those people are going to struggle quite a bit. And so I think you'll see a lot of people go out of business or be purchased or acquired by a competitor. I think the ones that are diligent, that are a little bit more patient, that are playing the long game will win. I don't know. And that's my professional opinion. My personal opinion worries a little bit about the market. What's going to be happening in the next 5 years is really interesting. Nobody knows with certainty, but if interest rates don't come down a little bit, or the value of homes come down a little bit, we're just in a really big predicament. I think, there's such a big demand for housing right now, but there's a small supply. And so that's making the house prices stay high. But then to combat inflation, the Fed keeps raising interest rates. And so it's this really bad mix that's going on right now. And I don't know which side is going to pop first, but it feels like there's something that's going to pop. I don't know. That's a loaded question, and I'm not sure which direction to take it, but those are some of my personal and professional thoughts.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a really good, thorough, and nuanced take. I saw a chart recently about real estate industry, mostly residential, talking about how the average price of non-new homes is approaching the price of new homes for the first time. And a lot of that, I think, is attributed to interest rates being so high. So people who have homes are sitting on them and holding onto their interest rate, and they're not selling. So yeah, there's a lot of dynamics. You touched a little bit on this, but I like to follow that up with, on the flip side, what do you see staying the same in the industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. What do I see staying the same? I think business-wise, I think that there's probably still going to be a lot of challenges on the hiring side for the next 5 to 10 years. That's been a challenge, especially the last 5 years. But I think that we're going to continue to see some tough times in terms of employment opportunities for people. I think that there's going to be so many opportunities out there, but not enough people to fill them. I read something as well recently about for every 7 people that exit the construction industry, 1 is entering. And so that causes some big issues. I think there's going to need to be more investment in trade schools, getting people recruited into those trade schools, and just education as an industry as a whole to get people to join the industry. Too many people want to work from home and sit behind a desk and not be out in the field. And that's going to be a huge problem. I think, so that's something that I see continuing to grow even and amplify. I think something you'll also continue to see, over the next 5 to 10 years is a lot more smaller people getting started. I don't know how to say this, but the great project manager going out on his own. That's a new thing, but I think it's been going on, at least from my perspective. I meet people all the time that are going and starting their new thing. And I think that's going to continue to grow, where they don't want to work for this big company anymore, where someone's telling them what to do all the time and has some pretty old practices in play. They're ready to go on the new side. They're ready to take ownership and just start doing something new. And I'm seeing that all over the place. We work with a lot of those people that want to invest inside their marketing, want to invest inside of their technology and run things a little bit differently. I think that's going to continue over the next 5 to 10 years, especially people leaving the big companies and doing kind of their own thing. But if the market does crash, you may see a difference. You may see people trying to run to those big companies. So who knows?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with all that. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that what you touched on about a lot of people wanting to work remote, I think, right now there's a lot of debate of workers versus companies and the villainization of work and remote. And I think what is important for people to understand from that is, from a entrepreneurial standpoint or a success standpoint, that creates a huge void and a huge opportunity. Yes, if you're able to make a business working from remote, you're able to find a job. That is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is a huge void and a need. And as that need grows, the reward for being able to fill that need is going to grow as well. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. And with that, as people are, like you mentioned, the successful or really high achieving project manager goes out on their own, I think there's also going to be a shift, one, as those types of things find traction in businesses taking advantage of, hey, this used to be a role we would hire and we can't. So now I'm going to contract it to somebody that this is all they do.
Yeah.
Hiring Benali, for example, to help us with this portion of our business versus hiring a full-time person. And that's what makes it possible for smaller companies to be able to start up, actually support certain roles.
Yeah.
I think it's to be determined, to be seen how things play out, but it is interesting to me to see the shift in old companies that don't evolve, going out of business or being acquired, as you mentioned, and where things will land with who actually comes out of this successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. I really appreciate you taking time, and you shared a lot of good content and tips for business owners and entrepreneurs in this industry. If people want to find out more about Benali or the Cashflow Contractor or you, Khalil, what is the best way to reach them to find out more?
Man, so many things here. I'm going to give you some work to put stuff in the show notes now. No, our website is benali.com, Benali. You can find us there. Our website for the Cashflow Contractor is thecashflowcontractor.com. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all the things. We'd love to have you check out our show, maybe listen to the episode with Jacob that we just did. And then, for listeners, if you're interested in what we do, really it just starts with a strategy call. But we've got something that we've really started doing, kind of an a la carte option for people that are interested in that technology side, that CRM side. We call it a CRM growth kit rather than our full growth foundation, where we get you set up on your custom CRM that is ready to roll as soon as it's set up. If that's something that interests you, of intertwining your sales, marketing, and your technology, and you want to be working inside of a robust CRM to make better decisions around your customers and to grow your business, that's something we can do for you. I'll send a link to Jacob where he can put in the show notes, and you can request a demo or a strategy call of our CRM growth kit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a lot of really good value for people to be able to reach out and get that resource. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing everything you did with us today, and I hope to be able to have you on again. So go check out the episode of Cashflow. I'll be on there by the time this publishes, and they've got a lot of great other episodes that I think people will be able to find a lot of value.
Thanks, Jacob. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Khalil.
Yeah. Take care.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do you want to stay up to date about industry insights, new content, and our community of mill workers? Go to ductworksmw.com to sign up for our newsletter. I'll see you in the next episode of Verify in Field.